Hello, my name is Ziad Masmoudi, and in this short video I will point out some of the main weaknesses of new public management, and then I will provide a case study to illustrate these disadvantages. In the beginning, let's discover why and how new public management emerged in the first place. In the second half of the last century, bureaucracy became a very important element in the modern states, and in fact it represented the largest section of governments. However, the public sector was causing governments to lose money due to its enormous needs in terms of resources and its poor management. At the same time, citizens were not happy with the poor services delivered by the public sector, which created a distrust crisis, leading to question to whether or not organizational theories put in practice at that time were effective. The alternative proposed by NPM is inspired from the management of the private sector, and specifically the big and successful corporations, knowing that at that time the private sector was expanding and transnational corporations started to emerge, promising a new era of globalization and modernization. Under new public management, the public sector is aimed to provide better services by meeting the three E's: effectiveness, efficiency, and economy. These three elements would be met through privatization of the public sector by contracting out jobs and limiting the services delivered by the government directly, and thus changing the identity of governments by making them business-oriented. However, this is only the visible part of the iceberg, because NPM has more weaknesses than advantages. My main critique is that it seems like the only considered goal of NPM is improving services and generating revenues. What governments represent, however, is bigger and broader than that. In addition, governments should work towards a balance of income and outcome to secure the best service that meets price levels, taxation, household incomes, etc. In other words, governments represent what citizens need and should not be profit seekers. Otherwise, we will be compromising the values of democracy. Another issue with NPM is that it considers citizens as customers. It is really difficult to comment on this. It speaks for itself, so instead of better service to citizens, we are talking about better service to customers. And I think this is too extreme. Citizenship is one of the symbols of the civilized modern human being, and by switching from a relationship between citizens and governments to a relationship between customers and merchandisers, governments would lose all sorts of legitimacy. The last NPM critique that I would like to touch upon on this video is how, in practice, NPM can fail to achieve its efficiency and economy. First of all, when government puts deregulation in practice, there are high chances of it losing its power to control resources. When private businesses take over the public sector, governments might fail to meet their promises to the citizenry, leading to a distrust bigger than the one that existed towards bureaucracy in the past. Second of all, several ethical issues may arise, one of which is conflict of power. Power and capital usually balance out. However, when the two of them meet on the same side, citizens will have to pay the bill. New public management creates best environment for growth of corruption. Given that public sector holds moral accountability towards the people, privatizing it will not do any better in terms of public interest. Yes, the services would be much better and faster, and yes, there will be higher efficiency and higher quality in the goods and services provided by the private sector, though the question is, at what price? Here in Canada, new public management has been introduced to governance since the 90s with a moderate formula. Some services were handed over to the private sector, while more important ones became crown corporations to make sure citizens' needs are met fairly. The issue arises with the fully privatized services. Our case study about the sponsorship scandal illustrates how privatization can spread corruption in the system. In the 90s, and during the Quebec secession crisis, government advertising in Quebec was handled by private corporations. These firms provided very little work, but served mainly as funds misdirection paths. These funds, coming from public money, made their way as donations to politicians and one political party to achieve some political objectives. The corruption did not stop there, and covered some agencies to camouflage the money transfers, as well as some crown corporations. It is important to mention here that these crown corporations are under the authority of the officials. The issue is a little more complex, but in short, over $100 million from tax money and public funds were wasted in a scandalous way based on nothing but corruption, conflict of interests, and political benefits interfering with profit-only seeking businesses. Besides all the ethical and political issues related to this scandal, we can clearly see how the promises of new public management failed to serve the public interest and made things even worse. Finally, new public management might have some practical solutions to the public sector issues, but as a whole system to be adapted, it can be quite harmful to the society. I would prefer a more moderate system where powers balance out and the benefits of the society are protected. Thanks for listening, and please feel free to comment on the video and share your opinion with everyone else. Thank you.